All right, let's think about something for a second. Imagine you're about to go on a long road trip. A journey that pretty much everyone takes, sooner or later. This isn't just any trip, though. This is the road trip to your retirement. And trust me, how you prepare for it? Well, it changes absolutely everything. Now picture this road. You're going to see two kinds of cars. In one lane, you've got the cruisers. You know the ones. Windows down, favorite songs blasting, a clear map right there on the dashboard. They are just enjoying the ride. But then you look over at the other lane. You see cars pulled over, hazard lights blinking, the drivers look stressed, totally lost, and their fuel gauge is on empty. They have no clue what's coming next. So I've got a simple question for you, right here at the start. Which one of those cars are you in right now? Because here's the thing, we all end up on this road. The real choice isn't if you'll take the trip, it's whether you're going to be cruising with a smile or stuck on the side of the road completely unprepared.
So why do so many of us end up in that second car? I mean, it's not like we want a bad journey, right? Well, it usually comes down to some very real, very human psychological roadblocks that stop us from even thinking about a future that just feels so far away.
Think about it. When you're in your 20s, you're all about that first car, getting your career started. Retirement? That's some distant planet you'll visit someday. Then your 30s hit, and life gets even louder. Maybe you're juggling a home loan, maybe a family. And then you blink. You just blink, and suddenly you're 45. That destination that felt like a lifetime away is now right around the bend, and this wave of panic starts to set in. And this is the trap. This is where it gets dangerous. When you finally pull out the map at 45, the distance you still have to cover, the amount of money you need, it looks like an actual mountain. It feels so huge, so completely overwhelming, that a lot of people just give up, right then and there. That's when the YOLO mindset kicks in, and spending actually goes up to cope with that feeling of being hopelessly behind.
But hang on, what if we could reframe that massive challenge? What if there was a way to look at it differently, a mental trick that makes that mountain feel totally climbable? Let's talk about something I like to call your financial freedom EMI.
We all know the EMI illusion, right? Companies are masters at this. They take a big, scary price for a new phone or a car and break it down into these tiny, manageable monthly payments. It's a psychological trick that makes almost anything feel affordable. So what if we could hijack that same psychology? What if we could use that very same thinking, but for our own freedom? What if your financial freedom didn't look like a mountain? What if instead it looked like this? 7,000 rupees a month. That's it. That's your EMI for freedom. It's not scary, it's understandable, and you know what? It feels completely doable.
And that, right there, is the incredible power of small, consistent steps. That little 7,000 rupee EMI, if you started at age 25, can grow into a 2 crore rupee corpus by the time you're 60. All of a sudden, the impossible doesn't seem so impossible anymore. That mountain peak is actually within reach.
Okay, so the money part is starting to feel a little less scary. But that brings up an even bigger question, maybe the biggest one of all. If I handed you those 2 crores right now, today, would you actually quit your job? For so many people, the honest answer is no. And it's not because they love their job, it's because they'd have no idea what to do with themselves. You see, retirement isn't just a money problem, it's a vision problem.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand, because this road doesn't always lead to a sunny beach. Sometimes, retirement is something that happens to you, not something you choose. Not every journey ends with the freedom you're dreaming of. In fact, there are really 4 different paths you can end up on.
Let's break down these 4 flavors of retirement. First, the one we all want, wealth-based. You've built enough, you're financially secure, and you choose to stop working. Then there's age-based retirement, where the system or your company says, okay, time's up. Third is boredom-based. You're still going to work, but honestly, you've mentally checked out. And the fourth, the toughest one, is helplessness-based. You're pushed out because your skills are outdated or you're just burnt out. Only one of these 4 puts you in the driver's seat. And planning for that number 1 option is way more critical for our generation than it was for our parents. Think about it. Their retirement often came with a built-in purpose, right? Helping with grandkids, managing the household. But for most of us, with nuclear families and careers that take us all over the place, those default jobs just won't be there. We're going to have to find our own purpose. So really, when you boil it all down, it comes to this. You either retire by choice, or you retire by circumstance. Because, let's be real, sometimes your job decides to retire you, especially after you turn 50, and maybe your skills aren't as current. That kind of job loss, it rarely leads to a big career comeback. A plan isn't a nice-to-have. It's your safety net against that exact scenario.
You know, in the movie Bhagwan, the main character gets let down by his family, but he gets lucky. He had Alok, his adopted son, who was there for him. And the movie asks this really powerful question. He had Alok. Whom do you have? And while emotional support is everything, having a financial plan is you deciding to be your own Alok. It's you showing up for your future self with dignity.
So let's just reframe this whole conversation. Let's throw out the old ideas. Because retirement isn't the end of the road. It's not about getting old. It is the very first day that you wake up and get to work entirely for yourself. The big takeaway here is to move past all the fear, the helplessness, and those tired cliches we always see. Let's start thinking about retirement for what it really can be and what it should be. A chapter in your life that's all about freedom, that's driven by a sense of purpose, and is filled with genuine peace.
And to get there, we can start by asking some really simple but really powerful questions. So here's the first one I want you to think about. If money was completely off the table, if you didn't have to work, what would you actually do with your time?
Okay, now let's build on that. Forget all the stereotypes about getting older. What kind of life, what hobbies, what projects would genuinely get you excited to wake up in the morning at age 60? Really paint a picture of that in your mind.
And finally, let's bring it all back to today, right now. Looking at your habits, your choices, financially, mentally, physically, are you building something that the 60-year-old version of you will look back and say thank you for?
Look, the road ahead is long. There's no doubt about that. But it feels a whole lot better when you've got your bags packed, a clear destination in mind, and most importantly, you are driving on your own terms.